Hey guys, we got a really cool episode today, but I got to make it perfectly clear. We are not financial advisors and we are not trying to give you financial advice. We're just having a conversation.
Happening now. It's happening now. Happening now. We'll have
Hey, welcome back. This is Happening Now, and I'm your host, Hammer. Today we're going to be talking about money, something we all want, and we're going to tell you how to make it quick. Right, Tori?
We are. I think it's make a real good topic to understand what money really is. I mean, everybody wants it, right? Not everybody has it. But money in itself doesn't make money. You have to invest. You have to understand money, and money has to have value for goods and services. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today, as well as perhaps we might get into Bitcoin and what that whole scenario is, electronic money, and investing. So that's where we want to hit today.
You know what, Troy, we have somebody here that's very good at making money. He's done it in a lot of different ways. He's a good friend of ours. His name is Duffy. He's done everything from pool repair to being on the Orange County Housewives. So this guy's done it all. Duffy, what's happening?
I wish I could monetize that, but you can't because I'm not a housewife. But let me tell you, the important thing with money is, you have to respect your money. And I think all of us were raised with parents that were a little more conservative than we are. We tend to spend it. And I had a really dear friend of mine tell me that income is the most renewable resource ever. And I thought about that statement. It's like, is it renewable? Yeah, you go to work and you make your money, but what are you doing with your money to make it renewable? And that's what we need to talk about today.
I think most of the people out there, they get their paycheck, they buy the fancy car, they pay for the apartment or the house or whatever, they go out to dinner, they burn through it. They don't utilize their money the way it needs to be.
Well, that's very true, Hammer. In fact, I think if you looked at the statistics, you'd find that probably 30% of the United States lives paycheck to paycheck. You know, it's what comes in is what you spend, and that's all you've got. You always tell people, you have to save. And I tell my kids, I've got two 20-something-year-old kids, and it's like, start saving now. Even if you're bussing tables, put a couple bucks in the bank, don't touch it, let it sit. And it's amazing how fast that can grow. And that's what we're talking about, letting your money work for itself. And Duffy, we were talking about a little bit before we started about where currency started and what it really means to be currency. Duffy, give us a little background on what you know about that.
Well, I mean, basically anything in our society has to be monetized some way. And back in the day, I don't even know how far back. I mean, they came up with the coin. We discussed whether the Chinese came up with it or whether the Romans did. It doesn't matter what happened.
I think it was the Egyptians.
Or Egyptians, even better. Because look at how well they're doing now. So anyhow.
Thank heavens for oil.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. But no, seriously, it doesn't matter where it came from. It's where it's at. Today, things are rapidly changing so quickly that the smartest people in the room, I'm talking the Buffetts, I'm talking about, the Gates, I'm talking about Mr. Elon Musk, our favorite madman with money. Things are changing so quickly. It's really hard to put a finger on what's the right answer, but I'll tell you what the right answer is. If you have $1, you want to put 30 cents away if you can. And I know it sounds ridiculous. Like, how could I pay my bills if I have to put 30 cents away? Well, start with a nickel, go to a dime, figure it out,
And that's setting up a budget, right? I mean, it sounds, again, kind of silly in today's world, but if you're making $1 and you want to put 30 cents away, then don't spend $1.10 every week, or whatever that is.
How many people actually budget at their household? I mean, none of the kids do, okay? I was always down to my last dollar or 10 cents by the time the next check was coming in the door before I figured it out, right?
Well, I'll tell you my answer to that, being a father and with kids too, and I watch their spending habits, and I'm still a daddy, whether they're 20, 30, 40, it doesn't matter. We need to help these guys pump the brakes a little bit and move money in a different direction, make it work for you. And that's the premise of this conversation. Make it work for you. How do you do that?
Yeah, and I think part of that discussion is you want the kids always to do better than their parents. I mean, that's kind of like this watershed of how when you grow up. You should always do better than your parents. Get ahead further than they did. And Duffy, since we're talking about that, let's talk about kids. And when we say kids, we're talking 15 to early 20s, whatever it might be,
Right.
where my kids are. Investing. A dollar in itself doesn't make any money unless you do something with that dollar. You either have to invest it, you have to buy something, you have to trade, whatever it is. It doesn't have value sitting in your pocket as a dollar. So there are a lot of resources out there now, such as Fidelity. There's a lot of them, and you can probably tell me a lot more off the top of your head. But Fidelity, you can go online, open a Fidelity account, and start investing. You don't have to worry about a money manager or somebody really trying to take your money from you. It's super simple. It's inexpensive. I have a Fidelity account. I got my daughter who just turned 26 about 2 years ago. She opened a Fidelity account. She's like, well, how does this work? And then she really got into it. She's asking people at work, well, what do you invest in? What kind of stocks do you have? A lot of these younger kids are day traders, or they want to be. They want to make a quick buck. But she put money in there. I think she put like $15,000 in. She made $15,000. She took it out, left her principal in. She's like, woohoo. Now, what she didn't understand is you got to pay taxes on those profits, but that's another topic altogether. But I think you have that same experience, Duff.
Yeah, and that's the problem with investing. It's like a smoke and mirrors game. You think, oh, I've made this money, but you can't act on that money. That money needs to stay in the pot. You can move it around, but you can't spend it, and that's called saving. So if you put, like Hammer said, I put money in the bank. You know what? That doesn't work anymore. The bank doesn't pay anything. In fact, they'll probably charge you to park
have your
money in there.
Yeah,
so
you're right.
it's kind of reverse, and it's very complicated. There are simple opportunities that anyone can get into without brain work. They're called ETFs. It's basically, an exchange traded fund. It's very similar to a mutual fund, except for it's more specific. You can actually say, I want to concentrate on tech stocks. I want to concentrate on electric car companies. That's something that the three of us always talk about. It's like, what are you doing? And that's another thing. Talk about it. I mean, things happen. If you have your ear on the street, you're going to pick up some great ideas. If you pay attention to trends, it's, the opportunities are just right in front of you. And if you don't,
it's changing every day. Like you said, you got to have your ear to the street. There's something new and exciting that happens every day. Look at these brilliant people like Elon Musk. This guy has everything he's touched has turned to gold, right? He just bought $1 billion,
1.5.
$1.5 billion worth of what?
Bitcoin, baby.
And if he's doing it, there must be something to it.
And that was a bit of a disruptor, right? I mean, that kind of set the whole market flopping around. But that brings up another good question. It's like, what do you invest in? Do you invest in just what you know? Do you invest in what your neighbor tells you or what your boss tells you? Recently, about a year and a half ago.
Yes, and yes,
Yeah,
right?
about a year and a half ago, I'm looking at who is going to be coming out ahead in this pandemic. Well, you would think a Pfizer would be. You'd think a Johnson & Johnson would be. I didn't know Moderna at the time, but I picked about 5 different med stocks, health stocks, that I thought were going to go off. And I did well on 2, and I did poorly on 2 others. But that's the kind of stuff we're talking about.
Absolutely ditto. And I did the same thing. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out trends and things like that. Just pay attention to what's going on in the world, what's important.
But let me ask you guys, people are scared of that risk. Because what you just talked about, Troy, is a risk. You did great on 2. You didn't do so well on 2. You probably came out ahead. But I think these people are going, okay, well, I have whatever amount of money that is, let's say $10,000. It's in the bank and I know it's there. It's safe, right?
Well, okay, so let's talk about how do you mitigate risk, okay? So obviously, if you have $1, you're not going to invest $1.10, okay? That's risky. Now, a lot of people think the margins, and a margin is basically if I put $100,000 in with my stock brokerage, they actually will allow that to be about $150,000 or $180,000. And as a fool, to rush in and think, oh, this is a for sure thing it's erroneous. You shouldn't do that. Be conservative and live within your means of loss. If you're willing to lose 10 grand on something, then take the risk. Otherwise, don't do it.
Well, and that also harkens back to where you are in your life, right? Like we were talking about the younger kids, they can be a little more aggressive. As you're getting older and that's what you've got to live on for the rest of your life, you want to be a little more conservative, obviously. And I think like Treasury bonds, you can probably speak to that a little bit more, Duffy, but Treasury bonds are very safe, right? They're AAA rated, they're government backed. Is that true?
Yeah, but they're not fun and they're not exciting. I hate to make it sound like, if I'm going to risk, okay, my portfolio, for example, I will put 30% of that portfolio into a high risk area, okay? And I put maybe 10 or 15% into a bond. In fact, I just pulled out of bonds and I knee jerked. I could have picked up a couple of points, but it doesn't matter. The money that I put that money into made more than enough, and I'm following trends. I'm like Hammer, ear on the street, pay attention, ask questions. Don't be afraid to talk to older people that actually have an idea of what's going on in the world, but don't talk to an older person about Bitcoin or anything else. I mean, it's like the wild, wild west right now of finances. And I think there's a huge opportunity. And if you want to make it simple, you just follow the big dogs. And that's the simple investment portfolio. Simple.
I think that Bitcoin thing makes a lot of sense because let's look at this. All of our parents always carried lots of cash, right? And now we carry credit cards and not so much cash. The caveman carried rocks and rubles, and it's going to go to that way, to technology. I think that in 20 years, there will be no cash, period.
Well, we might even see that with the Gen X and Gen Ys right now, right? As they're coming up, and they are the ones who are on their phones all the time with their TikToks and their, all the social media. And I think they get a little bit their blinders on to what their money's doing, and it's doing nothing, like you said, sitting in the bank. I mean, if you've got a savings account making more than 1%, good for you. I mean, that's probably the max you're going to get out of a savings account.
Yeah.
So
at a credit
they need to
union.
look ahead at what's going. Technology is really kicking. Healthcare is always going to be there as our population is aging. That's always going to be a good thing. Even art, you can invest in art. You don't have to buy a big painting, but you can co-buy and invest in major works of art and things like that. So there's a lot of options.
Well, speaking about art, FNTs are huge right now, especially in the sports world, and that's digitalized art. And it's kind of like trading baseball cards, but it's digital, just like this money, and that's where everything's going.
Well, I do know a little bit about that because I have very, very good friends in the art business. And so here's the sitch. Basically, you have an artist who made this wonderful piece, and it's a one of one. It's like $30,000. Okay, one person can buy it, and that's the end of it. If all he had to do is digitize that art, and he could sell it to the masses for a nickel a piece, and make far more money. Like Grimes went out and created this digital masterpiece, which is junk, but she made what $6-7 million on that one piece. So again, it's a matter of status. If you're known, you can actually sell in that base. But I think they're going to build and build and build on that. That for all of us, there won't be a single original piece of art in your house. It's going to be digital, and you own that piece. You can do whatever you want with it. It's really interesting, but again, try to get the artist in line with it. I mean, this is a slow move, I think, for everybody.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, but back in the day, people would collect stamps, collect baseball cards, Pokemon, whatever. That's what people do. And I think this is going to be one of those trends.
Yeah.
And I do think it's going to be here. It's here to stay.
And then moving forward to that, just let's talk about digital currency, period. I mean, obviously, you have Canada has one of the first exchanges now that's actually you can buy a digital currency exchange in Canada. You can't do that in the United States, and you can't do it in Europe yet. So those are the early trends that it's going to move in that direction. So, the question is like, when do you want to jump in and take part of it? It is a risk, okay? But so far, over digital currency has been, maybe 6-7 years old now, I think, or maybe a little bit longer, but it's really caught on. And you got a big dog like Elon dumping $1.5 billion into that, so he can actually, sell his cars with digital currency. That's the kind of push that you need, and obviously it's reflected in the value of the product.
Yeah, Duffy, let me ask you a question in regards to that, because I'm not invested in any kind of cryptocurrency. I'm just not familiar enough with it. I've been to a seminar about it. I kind of understand it, but I guess I'm old enough to still greenbacks in my pocket. Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency in itself isn't worth anything until somebody, or you don't make money on that until somebody else buys it for more. I mean, that's kind of how I relate that. In fact, Warren Buffett said something to the effect of a Bitcoin is very similar to a check. It symbolizes funds, or it symbolizes something of value, but is a check itself worth anything? And I kind of look at Bitcoin that way. Convince me otherwise.
Okay, well, it's not a lot of convincing to do. I think what's happening is you're more of a tangible person. So the greenbacks in your pocket answers that question. That's how you understand money. And I think what's coming up, beyond our years, our younger people, they don't really care about the greenbacks in their pocket. They look at digits the same way we look at stacks of hundreds, okay? So we could all be, throwing money around, like literally, physically, as in, shooting, what do you call it? You're spraying the crowd with hundreds or whatever. That's tangible.
Making it rain.
Yeah, making it rain. Make it rain. So you can make it rain digitally and it doesn't feel the same. So there has to be this change up of mentality, how we think about money. What's tangible to you? Do I have to touch it, feel it, smell it to make it valuable? Or is it really just a digital asset? And that's where it's going to be. I mean, it's happening now.
And I guess the best part that I see of that whole thing is that it seems to be safer. There are more safeguards with it. It's decentralized. You don't have the government saying, how you can move your money around. I guess that kind of is a big bonus for the whole cryptocurrency arena.
Well, the whole greenback thing is the big banks, the bad guys, the guys that always get bailed out of all the problems that they create, are going to hate this because
Better
they
get a
can't
shovel
control
for
it.
this.
What?
We better get a shovel
Yeah.
because someone's getting buried and it ain't us.
Hammer disappeared. What happened? But that's the deal. The banks hate this idea. They want to control the situation. They've been controlling it forever. And I think everybody's tired of it. And that's what really is going to change this whole thing. And that's what's going to make this kind of currency, if Ethereum, Bitcoin, what have you. I mean, how far has Ethereum come in the last 6 months, Duffy?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Ethereum it's a darling of digital coin, okay? Everybody knows about Bitcoin and everyone's heard about Dogecoin because of who? Elon Musk. But Ethereum is a good solid, it's a reproducing coin all right, so Bitcoin itself there's only so many Bitcoin, okay? The newest coins that are coming out are renewable energy type coins. It's like they create value, but they will add more to the pot as demand asks for it. So you're not going to get the spikes, you're not going to get the valleys, but it also is open for more people to get involved. So I think if I were looking at my personal portfolio, what would I be putting my money into? I'd probably be looking at not the number one, not the number two, but I'm going to look at the guys that chase the tails of the big dogs. Let the big dogs take all the risk, guys. We're not out here to like pour money down the drain. We're here to like take advantage of a situation, ride that magic carpet. And I think all of us are going to rise up together as this becomes more accepted. And especially with regulations, because, the government can't keep their hands out of anything to do with money. They have to have a part of it. We understand that, especially in the EU. I think that's going to be the hardest market to crack because there's so many fragments to the EU and so many countries and banking and regulations.
Yeah, they've got the Deutschmark and, all the different, the pound, and they've got a lot of different valuations there. One thing that I was concerned about with Bitcoin is legality of it. Obviously, in the United States, it's legal, not a problem. But from what I understand, the second largest economy, or perhaps the largest, we're not sure right now, is China. China has basically made cryptocurrency illegal. So how is that going to work on a global basis?
But I'll tell you why they did that. Because the banks in China control everything, right? Because that's controlled by the government.
Well, they control everything in China and they manipulate their currency. And this is actually going to create a situation where they have to be held accountable to digital currency, which
the worldwide media.
They can't F with that.
Yeah.
They just can't. So I think ultimately, as the world goes on, and probably beyond our years, I hate to say that, but this is going to be the only way of commerce, and it'll be safe, secure, hopefully, commerce. And there's always going to be fraud in the world, and we just have to be aware of that. But There's so many avenues right now and so many great opportunities, and it's all digital. And if you don't embrace that today, you don't have to, but you're not going to take advantage of the
that makes
wild,
good
wild
sense.
west.
I'm a little worried about that comment, Duffy. I thought you were going to live forever.
Yeah, well, I'm trying. If I make enough money, I might be able to live forever. So there's
A
incentive
little
right
more
there.
Botox and we'll just stay right there. Come on.
Botox.
I mean, they got enough things going on right now. They can start replacing things pretty quick.
So what do we use for, I guess you don't need a basis of what that value is behind. Again, I'm being old school, but we have the gold standard, right, for our dollars,
But
which
we're
by
not
the
on
way,
the gold
money is very
standard
filthy
anymore.
and dirty.
gold
but-
standard's gone.
It's gone.
well,
It's like,
so what do we use? We use the government
look at
printing
gold.
money.
I think gold is probably still in the 1800s. I'll look it up. But you know what? That's the thing. I mean, right now, okay, let's back this up a little bit and let's talk about what we've all been living through, the pandemic. Okay, this is changing just everything, and I'm not going to like feed into the pandemic. It is what it is. It's a global situation. So the opportunity right now to make changes like this, it's happening right now. So am I going to run out and let's say I have a portfolio, let's say I have $50,000 to invest, and I'm not going to run out and put $50,000 into Bitcoin, but I will put five. Okay. If I had $1 million, I put 50,000 into it as a hedge. You have to balance your portfolio, and you can go to a manager to do that. And that's great. They do a great job. I'm happy with my Merrill Lynch manager. I'll give him a shout out, but I divided my funds with him. I go, look, I'm going to take half my money and I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to give you half and we'll see who wins. And the truth is I win, but I also lose big sometimes. And he's very consistent. I might get creepy crawlies, 2-3%, but it adds up over time. So
Better than a
don't-
savings account.
Well, it's like going to Vegas. Don't expect to win. Go have a good
you
time.
expect to lose. Yeah.
Have a good time and be prepared to lose your money.
Free
So-
cocktails while you're gambling. That's all I care about.
No, the trick to Vegas is that allotment that you said, that $500 that you're going to spend. When you've blown that, don't go get another $500.
Yeah,
That's the trick to
Well,
Vegas.
the only
you can
place you'll
stop.
find a vending machine that'll pop out $100 bills up to about $2,000 is in Vegas.
All day, every day.
Yeah.
Minimum $500. Well, there you go.
Yep.
They didn't build those palaces with not making money.
Yeah. And that Vegas is going to change too. I mean, everything's going to change. I mean, the fact that we were talking about this early in the office, we all used to walk around with, a couple $100 or whatever you need. I have to remember to put dollar bills in my pocket in case I've run into a valet situation and I'm like, oh crap, I don't even have $5 in my pocket. So this is going to be like that for everybody sooner or later.
No, you bring up a really good point with the pandemic. I mean, everybody was already shopping online, but now it's just like, that's what you do. I'm not pulling money out of my pocket when I shop online. It's a credit card, sure, but that's still not a dollar bill, right? And that's very similar to a crypto coin. It's like we can do whatever.
That's a whole nother podcast. But brick and mortar's dying if it's not dead.
Yeah.
Ironically, okay, so I can speak a little bit of brick and mortar because I have an association in business with a surfwear company called Olakai, and they have Keenan sunglasses. And these guys are down maybe 15%, but they hold their numbers. Like the thing is, they're not a discount retailer. So on one hand, the discount retailers are getting cleaned out by Amazon. There's nothing there for them. There's those $5 stores, or those $10 or $20 item stores, they're gone. But people still like the tactile experience of shopping.
It's true.
And so not everybody is a 20-something, okay? In fact, quite honestly, we're a majority. We're the baby boomers. Call us boomers, call us what you want. But never in time and history before has been more people in the same group or age group that still appreciate tactile experiences. They like the taste, or the smell of a new car. They like,
I was just going to bring
like
that
these
up.
news guys. The new way is like, well, I don't need to own a car. If I need one, I'll just use a ride share, or I'll do this. So
All three of
Yeah,
us.
but I
here-
got to tell you something, Duffy. The last, I'm going to guess 5-10 cars that I've bought, and I'm talking about my classics. I'm talking about my daily drivers. Not once did I go to a dealership. I just bought it online.
That's what I was just going to say. You know, that
Yeah.
we've gone to that now. You can buy cars. I've had some of my real estate clients buy without ever seeing the house. I've bought several investment properties. I never saw them. You send an inspector out, you do all that kind of due diligence, but I never touched
It's
them.
global, guys. We can buy anything, anywhere, anytime now.
Yeah.
And that also has created an incredible market. So let's talk about cars for a second, because we all love our cars. And I mean, this marketplace it's a high demand market for classic. Any used car right now is going crazy. There's a shortage of new cars because they ran out of chips. I mean, everything gets kind of, I don't know if I can swear on a podcast, but it gets effed up with when you throw technology against the wall and it doesn't stick. Nobody knows what to do with it. So ultimately, yeah, I bought my first car online in 2003 and it was seamless. It was a great experience. They delivered to my door. Anyone's ever been to a car dealership, that's going to be gone. And by the way, again, like, I hate to bring up Elon Musk like I'm some like God worshiper or whatever, but
Nerd.
he's
Do
the
you
first.
get paid for every time you say his name?
I do actually. I'm hoping my stock.
He gets some Bitcoin.
I disclosure. I am heavily invested in Tesla.
Gee, really?
It's not a car company. It's a tech company.
Although, by the way, we should mention that none of the three of us are financial advisors. You know, this is just our experience. We're letting you know what
we're
we
financial
think about this thing.
cowboys.
We're not giving you financial advice per se.
Yeah, don't listen to a word
Yeah,
we have to
don't-
say, guys.
yeah.
But Duffy,
whatever.
you brought up Amazon earlier.
Yeah.
When is it a good time to buy things like Apple and Amazon? These really big Goliath of Disney. You know, when is it a good time to buy those type stocks?
Well, I'll tell you what, Disney was kind of a shocker this year, considering the fact that they haven't really been in business. But you
I
know what?
sold mine 2 years ago, by the way.
Disney is always going to be a buy. Their digital assets are incredible. So it doesn't matter if people go to the fun parks and, you know, hell, they own Star Wars. Okay. Like that is an unstoppable franchise now. And it's making great gains right now because of course they have their Disney Channel now, and they've, obviously everything's digital, as in our money, as in our how we think. Like us old guys are going to miss the smell of gasoline because we're not going to have gas cars to drive much longer. So
I will. I'm keeping them.
I definitely will.
I'm
pay
gonna
our
keep
own
my dinosaurs.
Schwarzenegger with the
Exactly.
Hummer during the gas crisis. I get it.
Yeah, I'll
I
be
get
that
it.
guy.
You know, why not?
Yeah, what are those guys over there in Saudi Arabia going to do when nobody needs gas for anything?
Well, you know, that's probably going to be the best thing that's going to happen to the Middle East. You take their money away. What are they fighting over? You know, just, you know, I'm sorry. My uncle, he actually was in Egypt. I mean, he spent, this is a long time ago in the late 60s, 70s. And honestly, they're not fighting over sand. They're fighting over what comes out of the sand. And this is causing this Middle East mess. And now we're moving into the Middle East. That's another podcast altogether, but it's all tied to money. It's all tied to a barrel of oil is $40, $50, $60. And everything's tied to something. Now, what we're tying it to is digital currency. And that's going to be a huge switch up. But we're cowboys, guys. We're here at the beginning of the Wild Wild West. And you'd be a fool not to put a nickel into it, because why wouldn't you, you know?
So it's interesting, Troy, what you just said. You know, we're not trying to tell you guys that we're financial experts. But since we're not financial experts, what do you guys think is your best 3 picks? I don't care if it's in stock market or if it's in oil or if it's in Bitcoin. Troy, what's your 3 best picks right now?
Healthcare, number 1. Technology, IT, number 2. And renewable energy, number 3.
Duffy, what would you say?
Where do you go from there? You covered it. You covered
nail it?
everything. Troy, you took the air right out of the room.
Yeah.
Thanks, pal.
Nice job, Troy.
You're welcome.
Healthcare is spooky good right now because of, unfortunately, this pandemic, and people are still petrified of it, and they think that, you know, now they're trying to sell you another shot and it's going to be a continuous shot like the flu shot. So I think that the healthcare stocks, I agree with 100%. We're aging, as you said, us baby boomers, and we're living much longer.
Right. And that said, of course, that ship has sailed, because when the pandemic hit a year ago, March, when they shut everything down, that's what I got. I guess more interested in investing my own money. And as Troy said, he spread his bet across Moderna. I bought Inovio. I bought Pfizer and J&J. And I hit home runs, except for, what happened to you, Moderna? No, actually, no. Moderna did really well. It was Inovio tanked on me. I was up 300%. Now I'm down 50%. So I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. Sometimes you have to learn to sell, and that's also a part of investing. You got to learn when to buy. Well, what's a Kenny Rogers song?
Know when to hold them.
Know when to hold them. Know when to fold them.
That brings up another good
when
point
to walk away.
that we didn't even talk about today yet, and that is
Kenny
penny
Rogers?
stocks. Kenny Rogers, unrecognizable man. No, is penny stocks, and that's a really good way for young investors to get into the marketplace. Again, talk to who you know, talk to your friends, talk to whomever, and find out some biotechs or some IT type companies that are just, you can buy them for $1.50 a share, $3 a share. Great way to get started.
You saying that, I agree with that. But, the stock market's only open from 9:30 to 4:30, right? Monday through Friday, right? The cryptocurrency is 24/7. And you can start that with as little as $5.
Yeah, now they have the exchange that you can buy. It's a TSC, Toronto Stock Exchange. Until those funds are readily available here, unfortunately, you're just going to go right into buying direct. But if I would probably go into more of an ETF type fund. Okay.
Well, explain that, Duffy.
Well, no, you kind of have to these days. Yeah. It's so expensive.
Well, once the ETF's available, so basically it's very similar to a mutual fund. It's just more, you can finite it. You can say, I only want to invest in these certain stocks, and there are ETFs which are available to support that entire system. So it's kind of important. It's part of the deal. It's called balance. You have to take your portfolio. So an ETF is exchange traded fund. So it's based on the stock exchange. It's not a mutual fund, which is based on, mutual funds are generally supported by insurance companies and other companies that want to bolster their investment portfolios. So once those come online, I think you'll see a huge surge in Bitcoin. That's why I'm saying right now, if you're a little bit brave, I would probably say I would be a 10% investor, and then when things go off, I wish I put it all in like a fool. But you
Duffy,
can't. Don't chase your tail.
Clarification on what you're saying right now. You keep saying Bitcoin, which is a specific type of cryptocurrency.
Well,
are you saying
let's just say
cryptocurrency in
coin.
general?
Let's say digital coin.
There you go. Okay, thank you.
In general, like an
Right.
an ETF would be. It would include Ethereum. It would include Dodge. It would
Guys,
include.
I think the bottom line here is, and I'm talking to you out there, is that don't live paycheck to paycheck. Start saving. Start making your money work for you. Whether it's $1, $5, $100, whatever it is, out of every check, and start looking into these things. Start looking into cryptocurrency. Start looking into the stock market. And guess what? It'll work for you. You just got to be persistent and do it. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time on Happening Now.